when I first heard about hand counting and heard what the Louisiana team was doing, I said to my husband, this is the way it has to go, but I didn't
Yes.
really know or understand. But Valerie, as you know, I've immersed myself in this since we were in Louisiana in October, and this is all I've done. I mean, 10 to 15 hours a day, every day, right through the holidays, to pull this together. It was just so important to get this to the people. And so this is the big step. And I will say, because I think maybe maybe we're ready. I'm waiting for the big Q, but we are so in need of taking this back and letting the people step up and do what it is that they're supposed to do. So I think that, yes, it is. It's a civic duty.
Duty.
I've tried to look this up, and somebody's online, and you never trust what's online. They said, oh, it's sort of a myth, but I had heard, and I remember this happening when I was getting close to going into high school. There was a class called civics, and that's where you learned all of these things. That's where they taught it. When I got to high school, it was called social studies. And I didn't know why. And even until recently did I look back and think, wait a minute, social studies, social justice, social this, social that. They just sort of molded us into a different effect. And none of us really realized that they stopped teaching us how to be good citizens and these things that we can do. So, there's things that like, it always happens. You cannot look away, not for a split second. So no, there's so much that we can do to step up. There's so many things that we need to do to make this happen, but it's a great start for everybody who's on here today. So, okay.
Yes, and thank you all so much for joining us today. We definitely appreciate it. And as you heard Colonel Smith say to us, it's not possible without the citizens.
No, and we have, so I'm going to ask if Mike is on, if he has a camera, if he wants to turn on, or even just turn his mic on and tell us Mike Lindell, and then we will repeat his intro, but we're not sure if we're seeing Mike yet or not. I don't hear him. If you are there, Mike, you need to just interrupt us. So, okay, so in the meantime, and I think that we have Dr. Frank online as well. And Dr. Frank, if you are good to hang out, I hate to, I think we might have Mike joining in a minute. I don't know if you'd like to start presenting.
I'm happy to wait as long as you want. No worries, I'm enjoying the conversation.
Okay, well, you're the greatest, so thank you. Okay, well then because I'd hate to have Mike come in and then just kind of bump you, so if you don't mind.
No problem, Mike's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's go on a little bit to the process. And if Mike joins and Michelle's listening, if you see Mike, just tell him to interrupt, okay? We'll just stop midstream. That'll be easier than trying to guess if we're there. So I'd like to kind of talk a little bit more about the process that we put together based on what's outlined. The easiest way to remember it is BBR, which is that, I'm going to ask, is that Mike?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
That's
Mike.
Great. Welcome.
I had to switch phones here. We're all good. Ever since the FBI took my good phone, I've had problems.
Did you ever get it back, Mike?
No, absolutely not. We're suing them.
Okay. Well, Valerie, and you and I have spoken online before. I'm Linda with Cause of America, Missouri. So we talked about Election Watch Project, but Valerie, who did a great intro, I'm going to have her repeat it, is with We the People, Missouri. And so we have a couple groups involved. Go ahead, Valerie.
Yes, we had another Mike join earlier that we thought was you. So I've already given you one wonderful introduction. Mike is a pretty strong name, but there's only one MyPillow guy, the inventor of MyPillow, Mike Lindell. And what an amazing patriot you've been to stand up against the evilness of the theft of our elections. Thank you so much for just the hours of sacrifice, the millions of dollars you spent to try and protect our elections and help us as citizens to take our country back. So we would love to hear from you today. We've been discussing hand counting. We feel like we've got a great statute in place that Linda's discovered that we can take back elections here in Missouri.
Well, thank you. And, it's all of you out there that give me, inspire me, because there was a time a few years ago when I felt like I was the only one out there raising my hand and getting attacked every day. But I'm so encouraged because, you hear bad things going on, like they just, throughout the Kari Lake case down there, ruled against it in Arizona, but we're appealing that, and we're appealing the other one, the injunction to get rid of all the machines in Arizona. We're appealing that to the Supreme Court. We're appealing Alabama to the Supreme Court. There's over 50 lawsuits going on in this country that I know about, where all citizens like yourselves are just fighting to get rid of these machines. And as you know, and I've been saying it all along, and eyes are getting open. If we don't get rid of the computers and machines, it's over. There is no coming back from it. We end up being like 52 other countries, and I said maybe it's 54 now. I don't know. I think you still have Brazil fighting for their lives down there, but you have countries like I met with the UK reporters from there anyway. The UK, the Netherlands, France, Germany, all these countries have paper ballots, hand counted, and we've had to fight so much here because we're not just fighting the media, we're and the platforms that they've taken over, like your Twitters and your Facebooks. But people ask me all the time, well, who did this? And I can tell you, it was the CCP, the deep state, the globalists, and the Uniparty. The Democrats warned us of these machines for 2 decades. They just love it now that they're on the side of to join the other 4 in this cabal against to take our country from us. And you guys in Missouri was one of the first places, very dear to me, that I went down there with actually Dr. Frank, and we went before your Secretary of State, your legislature. They were all open to getting in this fight. I think back now, we know a lot more now than we knew then. And they had questions back then. I remember your Secretary of State said, just find us one person that was deceased that voted. And I think y'all went out and canvassed and found tens of thousands, And then Missouri, we showed them that 247,000 people put on the voter rolls before the election of 2020, and the same group taken off the voter rolls. And it was stuff like these huge deviations. And I really thought that, being in Missouri, that it would have been so easy to go to this red state first. And we asked for machines and to open up the machines then, and they were close. I actually bought a $10,000, it's like a machine data sucker that we could put in, and we even offered to buy a couple of machines down there, but you got right to the edge, and then it got shut down, and it got shut down and shut down. And but I am going to be returning to Missouri. It's very interesting, you guys if you get this. I want to see how far along this and what you have on paper ballots hand counted. I'm going to be circling with all the attorney generals again, including Eric Schmidt of Missouri, and to go another big case to go up to the Supreme Court. And maybe the time is right this time, because we can get it's not going to be about overturning the 2020 election, which they all had fear before. This will be about getting rid of machines. We can get our country back if we get judges that are brave enough to rule to get rid of these machines, and don't kick the can on standing. That's one of the things I've learned, and I will tell you all, our hope is in the judges and in the people, like yourselves, and even starting at the county level, to get rid of these computers. And judges have kicked the can on standing, and now the new one, sanctions. So they make me pay sanctions everywhere, every case. Like, you shouldn't even, how dare you talk about bringing about machines and computers. And I want to tell you a funny one the other night. I think it was a horrible Stephen Colbert show, one of those late night nut jobs, but he was just bashing me. He says, and Mike Lindell wants to get rid of all of our machines, like our espresso machines. And he made a joke about it. In the very next segment, he talked about very seriously how they're considering robots in San Francisco on the police department. Now, I want y'all to wrap your heads around this. Think of the people that would be, we can look at other countries and see where the machines have taken over, the voting machines, the computers that took over they took their countries down because of it. And the dictators that are in charge and the communists in charge, they now have control over all the technology that over the, that's coming as fast as you can, each year it's more and more. You look at drones in Australia that come down and tell you to go back in your house. I mean, this is the world we're in right now, the apex in history with all these the technology and the machines and artificial intelligence, and where I could be doing this. I could be doing a speech and you wouldn't even know it was me, where people can they can fake voices and fake everything. Think of evil running all that. They could put anybody they want in prison for something they didn't do. And what are you going to do about it? We are at a critical time in history. If we don't get rid of these electronic voting machines, it's over. It's that simple. And any of you out there that haven't found the Lord, you better find him real quick, because we're all going to heaven, the believers. We win either way. It's that simple. And, so it's I'm very encouraged. I'm very encouraged.
Mike, so I wanted to share a couple things with you. So we're here. I don't know if you've had time. We sent a link, but it only came out 2 days ago for an e-manual, 255 pages of the hand counting process for Missouri, based on statutes already in place. Wow. And if you're able to see the screen, I don't know if you're on the visual, but you can see we have a demonstration counting team, and they are literally counting ballots while we're doing this webinar, showing how the process takes place. So we have that. And also, you should know that our other guests on the call while you're speaking are Dr. Frank and David and Aaron Clements, just to let you know they're here. And Colonel Sean Smith started our call by talking about the cyber issues around these machines. But we have in place in Missouri, and that's what we're getting everybody kind of up to speed on, that all we have to do is convince our clerks the law is already in place. We don't need a single piece of legislation, and we can go out and start hand counting. So we've designed the process, the forms, all the steps, everything that's being demonstrated right now. And we just have to now start talking to clerks.
How have you, I just got a couple of questions. When you're hand counting, are you guys at the precinct level there in Missouri, or is it by county?
We have, in each county has polling places. Some of them call them precincts, but yes. So in the counties, they have polling places, and we did some averages. You would love the numbers. A small county, which is considered class 3 county, averages about 600 ballots per polling place. And the biggest counties, class 1 counties, average about 2,000 ballots per polling place.
Oh,
and that's how many they would have to count. Yeah.
Right. So you can get them counted. You can get them counted real fast. Then, yes. How many typically races are on your ballots in Missouri in an election?
So we count it by line item, the way the process works. So one race for like senator had 5 candidates. That would be 5 line items. So I went through the last couple of elections. It can range in some of this, like a midterm, anywhere from say 140 or 150 line items to, in a larger county, maybe some more than that, but none of them went really over 200 of line items.
And then my question is, what did you, when you have, I see, I don't know, just a few people there, are you taking, is one person taking like 10 line items? Do you break that off and you're flipping it around like a clothesline, or how does this process work? Or are you taking a whole ballot and doing all the line items at once?
Right.
Have you done go ahead.
Yeah, so we went to Louisiana, Randy and John. I know Randy's on the call, so our Cajun Clotheslines friends are on the call. We tried that, but it wouldn't match our statute. So our statute says specifically, you'll see the two counters with their backs to the wall are called counting judges. They pick up one ballot and they call off each of the lines, and we put numbers next to them. So they're calling off a number, almost like bingo. The two judges facing the wall are recording judges. They have a tally sheet very similar to what Louisiana created, which is almost like bingo, and they're just dabbing the numbers. And in our book, we show examples of it. So we are just getting teams trained up, but we feel that conservatively, we'll do 100 to 150 ballots an hour, including all the paperwork and all the tallying. The other important aspect is our statutes allow us to start counting ballots 1 hour, if we're hand counting, 1 hour after the polls open. So we can start counting ballots at 7 in the morning.
Okay, when you say 150 ballots an hour, is that a team of 4?
It's in statute says it has to be a team of 4, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans.
So you can get multiple teams in a bigger county, correct?
I believe so. It doesn't say you can't, but the election authority, the clerk would have to say, yes, that's what I'm going to do. So yes, they can work a half days. They could work a half day. So you could bring in 3 or 4 teams at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and let them run for 8 hours.
Right.
And they would be doing, they would far out count the number of ballots that would come in.
Wow, that's very interesting. So you did look at that clothesline thing. This actually sounds a lot more efficient. It sounds a little bit, it sounds a lot more efficient actually.
Well, they wrote these statutes in 1977. We're only doing what was written in 1977. So we're following. The clothesline was a great process, but for us, we have to do it, and this is exactly how it's written in the book. So in 1977, we followed it.
Right. Well, here I got another question on that. When are you adding cameras to it? Technology cameras to the. Would you add cameras to it then, so someone could actually see their number at home go by? That, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, and that's in Colonel Sean Smith's, because we would have to get legislation or rules to change the ballots to have them coded. We are doing it exactly with what is allowed right now.
Okay,
that
perfect.
Would have to be
Perfect.
something added later. Mm-hmm.
Right. And as you know, just do it the way it is. I think. We need one state. This is very exciting to me because we get one state to go at paper, and I believe that they're just you get it prototyped, and it's gonna be one after another. And so have you done on your time studies? You've done what's the validation then for the guy doing the dobs? How if he's dobbing, you got 10 ones, 3 twos, whatever. And then when you get done with that, then you do they all 4 consolidate that then and add them up? Where's the cross check?
Yeah, so when they're dabbing, the Republican and the Democrat have their own sheets. And so they have to dab. When they're done, they total them down, and they do have to compare them. According to statute, they must agree on the totals before they move forward. But if you only had 100 ballots in the batch, there's not a lot of cheating you can do with 100 ballots. But they do cross-reference it, and they have to agree.
Right. And this brings up what my lawyers brought up in Arizona, which is, if you had with the amount of cheating, it's not going to eliminate cheating altogether. You could get 2 Republicans that are really Democrats in a room. I mean, we know that, but because you now are limited to these little groups, you can't steal 8 million ballots. You could only steal on a good day, I know, maybe a couple hundred or whatever it would be during that, because they still have to stay within their deviations too. You can't have 1,000 people in a county and then come out of there and say, hey, this guy won 990 to 10. Everyone's going to look around the room and go, okay, this doesn't make sense.
Nope. That's right.
Well, this is exciting. And on your movement, when you guys started this, when did you start this?
So started right after we went to Louisiana to see what they were doing. So I came back, I read the statutes, and then started putting together forms, steps, everything to make it work, and then started expanding and teaching our team. So we're in learning mode, but yeah, it's just been since we were there in October.
Okay. Well, here, have you been attacked yet by media or anything, or is it kind of low key right now, which might be good?
This is our first public showing of it. Literally, the manual came out 2 days ago, so we figured the attacks will start after today.
Right. What? And then I'm going to ask you this: what can I do to help, like printing of manuals? I mean, do you need when you say? I mean, this is almost your. How many counties or how many? Would it be counties? Who would you be approaching to convince them to go this route? Is it the county commissioners or who is it?
It's the clerks.
The
clerks. It's the clerks, except a few of the larger counties have board of elections. So whoever is the election authority, but in over 100 counties, it's just the clerk.
Okay, so you have 100 now.
Well, yeah, 114, but I think that there's a handful of them are boards. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you come up with a plan to market this out there? I mean, would it be worth getting getting all of them in one place and doing one big training thing or one big sales pitch?
So this is the cover of this says that this manual and this process is part of Cause of America. And I've worked with Michelle and Melody. Michelle, by the way, is on the call. All of this is under Cause of America, so that I wanted to get everything I had learned onto a manual and then allow it to grow to the people of Missouri and through Cause of America. So whatever you think is how we want to take it forward. Okay.
Oh, that's see, they don't tell me nothing, Michelle and Melody.
Hey now.
This is kind of the best news I've heard this week, and I've had a tough week. Believe me, this is really, really, really awesome. I would want to. This is something I want to get Michelle and Melody. I'd want to go to Missouri many times. I mean, we could do even. I think we need to. This is a big sales pitch. I mean, how but you're convincing. Obviously, it's probably going to be harder to convince some of these clerks that are the Democrats. All right, is that what you're thinking, or what's your?
We don't have very many Democrats, but look, so we can tell them our line is: you are going to save time, you are going to save money, you can get election results in one day, and you will have better transparency and security on your elections. That we know, and that's what we have to get across to them. Most of the clerks are going to immediately say, oh no, it'll take weeks, it'll take this. So we have a process now. It's wrapped in a bow. The process is done. Every form is done. Everything's done.
Have you, Michelle, how can I get a copy of all that and check it all out?
I'll send it to you.
Okay. And then have you guys done a video where you've done a study, or where you've done a video and said so they can see that that for themselves? Because that'll be the biggest. You're right. That'll be the biggest pushback is the time. And man, if you say you've already done a time study and it's 150 in an hour, I'd say as many as time studies you could get, and you could say, you know what, it doesn't matter. The people there. We've done it with all different walks of people, and it's always right around 150 or whatever. And you can just get multiple groups. Can you, as long as they're Democrats and Republicans, is that all that's in the statute? So you can, they can be volunteers then at that. Tell me that. Let's just go. It's election night. So, and you have a big county where you need 6 of them groups of 4. What's in the statute for getting those 6? Would the clerk pick those 6 groups, or how does that work?
So technically, the political parties, meaning in our state, Republicans, Democrats, are supposed to be submitting names of election judges. These counters are called, we don't have poll workers, it's all election judges, whether they're at the door or not. So the
I gotcha.
political parties are supposed to submit those names. I don't think many or all of them definitely have. That's how you determine that these are really Republicans or really Democrats. So we have to start working with these political parties like the RNC,
Right.
which we'll just sort of mention. So
Yeah.
but
Well, hopefully that that's just another reason I got to win that chairmanship, because they've got to get involved in getting rid of these machines and getting to paper. And if they don't, there is no RNC. They've got blinders on. I've never seen a group where you're going, why did we not get a red wave? And any other time in history you would have. The answer is right in front of you. It's called a black box, where you don't know what's going on in there. It's just like they did the same thing. It's interesting, you guys. With their Google, their Gmails, when you do emails to people, so there's over 40 different platforms, and their Gmails, they found out in October, I think it was only going 90% of their Gmails, which is 40% of all their emails going out to donors and everything, was going into spam. So, and I used that example at the RNC. I said, you guys understand all the hard work, that you went into reaching out to donors and all the efforts put in, and you pay such big money for this data computer to profile people, and only to have it stole by Google, 90% going into spam. And then they all kind of got that, but yet they don't get that you can go out and ask donors, let's go out and raise more money, Herschel Walker will win. Wrong. Right. It's not happening, because of a press of a button. So I'm excited.
I have another piece of good news for you. We have a statute that allows high school students to come into the polling places and assist the election judges. And they're not, because they are between the ages of 15 and they can't have turned 18 yet. So they're not registered voters. So they're not designated as Republicans or Democrats. So we can start reaching out to high schools and youth groups and church groups and all these other organizations and start bringing high school students in to help with all the work.
Wow. Okay. The only thing I see here is the attacks. When it'll start with the media, and you got to think, if they're the evil that's out there, how are they going to try and stop this? I would say the only way they could is if they go change your election laws. But you're in a very good position in Missouri. That's one thing. I don't know if your legislature's changed a lot, but you have a lot of good ones down there.
Yes, and Senator Bill Eigel just pre-filed an election bill for this coming session, which begins next week, I believe. And his bill is the wish list of any conservative: get rid of machines, get rid of ERIC, get rid of just about everything. So his legislation is separate from what we're doing, because we have everything in place to start hand counting, but he's come in at that level. So that's just, he may deflect some of this from us, because they're going to have to go after him because he's pushing for legislation to get rid of machines.
Right on. And what's his name? Bill, what's his last name?
Bill Eigel, E-I-G-E-L. And by the way, the Attorney General Schmidt, he just won the race for senators. So he's going to be moving to senator next week.
Oh, he is. He won the senator, a U.S. senator?
Yeah, so U.S. senator, yep. He's taking Roy Blunt, who I'll let the people who've lived in Missouri speak to Roy Blunt. So, but yeah, so we have a new attorney general, and I can't speak to who that is and where they'll come in as
does anybody know the attorney general's name, Michelle, or can you get that?
It's Andrew Bailey.
Somebody in the chat. Oh,
Andrew Bailey. We're not super impressed with him.
Okay. What was he before this? He was
the general counsel to our governor. So it's a huge conflict of interest that he was appointed, but he was appointed since Schmidt was elected. So.
Oh, Andrew Bailey was just appointed, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Because Schmidt won the election. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, are they going to have, is he appointed just for now, or do they have another election for attorney general?
He will be appointed for the next 2 years. He has not been confirmed. They didn't ask him to be confirmed in front of our legislature, but he can still serve the next 2 years until he's elected.
Isn't that something?
Mhm.
Well, I'll reach out to him. I'm going to reach out to the Attorney General, so I'll see what their take is on him. We've got a lot of good friends in the Attorney Generals, everybody. There's at least probably 10 that I consider really good, and they're not like the Secretary of States, which I can only find one or two. How's your Secretary of State there? Who is it again?
Jay Ashcroft, who you and Dr. Frank met. So,
Oh, is that the
Dr.
one,
Frank
Dr.
Lister.
Frank? That's the one that said find one dead person, right?
Yeah, and we made a deal, and he reneged on it.
Yeah, he moved on it. Well, I'll have to go visit Mr. Croft.
Ashcroft.
Ashcroft.
Yeah.
Ashcroft.
Yeah, his dad, remember John Ashcroft was Attorney General for,
Yep, go ahead.
his dad, John Ashcroft, was Attorney General under George Bush.
Okay.
So it's
okay. I
it's
did
the
not know
Ashcroft
that.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know that. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow, this is exciting. I got to wrap my head around this. We got, having a great strategy to get these clerks on board. And once do you have some on board right now, like a group that would be, so you have prototypes of clerks that are going all in with this?
No, we like you, we haven't mentioned when we've spoken to anyone because we want to protect any conversations like that. I think a couple of
Right.
us have some ideas, but we have not pushed it out yet.
Right. And I would keep their names really, even especially in the beginning, we got to keep it very confidential. In fact, even talking to them saying, when we do it, when you commit, get a bunch to commit at the same time. So there's power in numbers. Otherwise, they can get singled out. It can be just like what happened in Arizona when we had 2 counties that were not going to certify, and they were all brave the night before, and they all got threatened, and they all certified then because out of fear. And
Yeah.
and so that
Whoop.
getting calls. Well, this is encouraging. Sean Smith, are you there?
No, he was only on, he jumped in from vacation. He took time out of his vacation to talk to us.
Well, who said he gets a vacation?
Okay, I got him in trouble.
Hey, Sean does everything. You know what? I don't think he's ever took a dime from it. He just what a guy. He just out there working for nothing. Working about it on his own dime. I mean, so proud of that guy. Just amazing. Kelly, I'm on a big call. Can I call you back? Dr. Frank, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here. What can I do for you, my friend?
Yeah. This is exciting, isn't it? Wow.
Absolutely. And we have friends in Louisiana who and Florida who headed that test up. There's a video of it. You can actually watch it. They set up a clothesline and everything. And Linda went down there and joined them. You may remember Raj from Florida and John Scanlon from Louisiana. They were 2 of the big organizers of this. I'm very excited about this as well. Mm-hmm.
Well,
I like the links are in the manual that we created. The links from Louisiana are in the manual, the e-manual as we call it.
Okay. I think after you've seen Linda, after you've seen the clothesline, don't you think this bingo thing is even better?
Well, the bingo part's in the clothesline too, but this part here, it does simplify it, and it is going to be, I think for us, it's going to be an easier sell to the clerk because John and Russ showed us a new, when they did it, they had modified the clothesline and made it easy to carry, easy to move, but it's one less thing for when we have to convince the clerks right now, it's one less thing. Because in Louisiana, they have to convince the Secretary of State, who then tells all the counties or the parishes what they're going to do. For us, we have to go to a lot of people. So the less we have to, like the cameras and everything else, the less we bring, the less we have to convince them.
Right. And I could say that can all come later. I think this is a perfect example. Then you go to, and by the way, Louisiana, they will, even though I don't know if any of you guys see that he came out and said his elections were great, but he also made a promise to me, and we got great things going on in Louisiana that, so I always thought Louisiana was going to be the first paper machine free, but now I think it's going to be Missouri. That's the first, Dr. Frank, that's the first state I went to. That means a lot to me. The first state. Wow. And you guys
Louisiana is 50-50 in my book, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Missouri being our first state here.
Oh yeah, Missouri's awesome. Yeah.
Well, you guys, I like the fact that it's almost all red, so you shouldn't. Once you get some of these clerks convinced, then it's just, I think they're going to fall like dominoes. Linda, you know your state. What would be your suggestion? I mean, how to get these clerks in a, having maybe a seminar where we make a big deal of it, and maybe in different parts of the state where they can all come to learn, or by, is that more personable than you're not, or are you doing it by, what's your thoughts?
So because we're in teaching mode, but we're on a tight timeline. So we have an April election coming up, a municipal election. And if we want to try to get some clerks, that would be the easiest election to switch to. If we don't switch at that April election, they're not able to, the next election's the next April, and that's already 2024. They're never going to switch in 2024. They're going to buy all that new equipment for the 2024 presidential. So in order to make the April deadline, we have to be able to have clerks agreeing by February 15th, which is when they have to put their ballots together. So we have about 4 or 5 weeks to reach out. So
Right. Okay.
I want to say that because my husband and I are refugees from Washington State, so we've been here 2 years. So I don't know the state as well. I don't want anybody to think that I do, but I do believe that when I spoke to some county commissioners in Mid Central a couple months back, that group was far more open to hearing. So I think your idea, if we had a way to do some sort of a seminar or get together to speak to them privately, and so they're not pressured or they're not blacklisted, something like that, where we could show them quickly. We could have this demo team sitting there counting. Freedom Principle, one of our other grassroots groups, is arranging some teaching events that I'm going to speak at in January. So we're teaching grassroots, but I do think we're going to need something to speak directly to clerks in a non-threatening forum where they can challenge us on everything.
Let me chime in on something there, Mike. Hey, in South Dakota, we had 2 counties that went all hand counting already just in this previous election. And we have right now Wisconsin counties that are voting out the machines. So in other words, I think we've already got counties around the country willing to use the system if we can offer it to them.
No, I know, but we're talking, we're under time crunch here in Missouri. I'm talking about, what's the best strategy for Missouri? I'll ask you this, Linda. Do you think, and I'm saying this I'm not going to hurt my feelings either way. Do you think me reaching out or whatever, our group reaching out to them and then letting them know myself to be there, do you think that's encouraging, or do you think that might put fear in some because of I'm on the public limelight of getting attacked every day?
I think there's both camps. I think that like our clerk down in Greene County. You read the lawsuit he wrote a while back where he sued a citizen, and he listed you and me as part of the reason for the citizen filing a FOIA request. I don't know if you remember that. You read it on your show one night. He's not. Yeah, he's not going to be excited to hear from you, but I know a lot of commissioners that I've spoken to are people who are excited to hear your name. And so I would rely like on Valerie, who was on helping to introduce. Valerie is the executive director of We the People Missouri. I think between the organizers that we have, we can pick and reach out to the clerks. And I think the clerks who are most likely to come over would probably really like hearing from you and being involved.
Right. That's what I think. I think that too. And I think it's probably the majority of them. So they could be, well, then I would think we would do strategically set up, maybe over a course of 3 days or whatever, 3 or 4 different, 4 or 5, even maybe different parts of the state. And maybe even 8 parts. I've got a plane. I can fly around different parts and have different meetings, and if you had do you have a team where I could bring a team on my plane where we would bring in here's a team, show them how easy it is where you're explaining, or would you have that available?
Yeah. And we're going to keep teaching everybody. So even if it's not the one same team, we'll have teams completely trained up, because you really want it to be demoed by a team that's done it a couple of times. So you're not trying to teach as you go. But it's a pretty exciting process. It's all according to code and state regulations.
Right on. Okay. Let me wrap my head around this. I think what we'll do is Michelle. Yep. Yeah, I think we should set this. I think we got to start this now, like the first weekend, or maybe not next week, but the following week, where that gives you more time to train, right, Linda? Let's say it was about the 9th, starting the 9th of January. If we could pick them, and then there would be a thing. Would weekends probably be better than weekdays? I don't know. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm seeing some chats go by very quickly. A lot of people who are familiar with them, I think we'll take that all into account. We can do it any day or time. And I think maybe we find out from the clerks. Our legislature goes in next week, not that they're involved, but I think a lot of people are very involved in the whole legislature thing. So I think we'll come up with a good plan, and be able to tell you. I don't want to speak for everyone's opinion here. So, but Michelle and I talk all the time, so I'll pass along to her to let you know.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should cold call a bunch of clerks, Michelle, you think, and then see what they, just say, hey, we'd like, maybe that's the way to do it, to see what they would be, if they would be.
Well, once Linda regroups with a bunch of the people in Missouri, and they can do some recommendations for us, and then we can make a plan with them.
Okay. Well, I'm wide open. So my plane holds 10 people to fly around the state. So we've got.
Keep offering. You're going to get everyone on your plane here pretty soon.
Well, there's only 9 counting me, Michelle.
I know.
Does that include the pilot, or has he got his own seat?
Right.
They got their own. Their own. There's 2 pilots. Remember that.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But that way we could get a lot of ground in a day or 2 or whatever, and then we could have, maybe we do that, and if you can get I guess map out Missouri and just see what obviously you could get the big cities and then get the big, like 2 in rural areas or whatever. I don't know. We can figure it out.
Okay.
If I could chime in, Mike, I'm from Southwest Missouri, and we have a lot of clerks in Southwest Missouri that love America. They love Missouri. They love you. And I do think that we can't substitute the citizen activism in this. I think if
Right.
our clerks hear from you and they hear from citizens, the ones
Right,
especially
right.
who are on our call today,
Yeah,
that's
that's what they
going to
need
be
to
a
do.
huge
Right.
asset, because we're the show me state, and maybe we're the state that's supposed to be showing
Right.
the rest of America how we need to be doing elections.
Right. I like your idea there, Valerie. If you guys can go out over the next week and a half, reach out to your clerk, say, what would work for you guys? We want to show you this. We want to demonstrate this to you. Mike Lindell's coming in, and figure out the dates. Like I say, I'm wide open. And maybe you start with like you say, where you're at, Valerie, maybe you start with an area we know we're going to be accepted in. And then you have, people don't like to be first in anything. I'm telling you. So
Yeah.
Valerie, if that might be, are you rural area? What towns are you by? You're Southwest Missouri?
We're in Southwest Missouri. I'm sure you know where Branson is. So I live in between Branson and Springfield. And there's about 7 counties, I feel like, down in Southwest Missouri that we have clerks that would be very open to having more transparent elections. And our citizens are going to be open, I feel like, because it will save money. The machines are just insanely expensive.
Yeah, well, they took our country. They're very expensive. They took. They've already taken $40 million from me. I know how expensive they are. Yeah, and they're trying to take $6 billion or whatever it is nowadays. $8 billion, I think. I don't know. I just keep piling up the lawsuits. But why don't we do that? Could be the first one down there, and then getting a real good prototype, and maybe a couple down there. I don't know. Is Branson kind of your centrally located?
Well, it's in Southwest Missouri. So I think the clerks from the region here, if they hear from the citizens, because these are people that they live with. We've got our Secretary of State that's up in Jefferson City. They don't see him, but they have to see their clerks every day.
Right.
So I think by having the grassroots and us, like Linda was saying, it being a 2-part process where the activists, the citizens, like Sean was telling us, there's no substitute for citizens, pressuring these county clerks, not pressuring them, but demonstrating to them how
Right.
ideal this process is. And then also having, insight from you that this could be a key that helps to save American elections.
Yep.
Right. Well, this would be the genesis to save our country. My question is here. Think of this as a big sales pitch. Where do we start? If you guys to map this out, are we going to, when you say, Valerie, you're going to take the people and they're going to reach out to the clerk? What are you reaching out with them? You need to reach out. We all got to be kind of uniform in our sales pitch. Here's this. And we're going to be having X or whatever. So maybe they hear it from the citizens first, and then you can really be educated on and detailed. Maybe that's how we kind of tease the details. Say we're going to have this seminar. Mike Lindell's flying in, and we're going to show you all that. Are you open to it? And so the citizens are kind of giving them an overall sales pitch, but not really, maybe not even the fine details, right? Is that kind of that's what I would kind of do so that they get both.
Yeah. So we have 3 levels of call to action. And the beginning was just getting this e-manual done. It's posted on Frank's Speech on our Cause of America Missouri channel. Most of the people on the call should have gotten the link. So it's the 255-page document with not just the process, but everything you need to know around the process. So our first level of call to action was messengers, which are basically the people who really can spend time pushing this out to other citizens, whether through social media, whatever else. Just get that out. The next level we were calling legions, as opposed to calling it an army, but legions, which are like the volunteers you see over there counting right now. You have to learn the process. You have to step in, understand it, and be ready to teach it to other people. Maybe reach out to the high schools, reach out to the political parties. And then we had what we were going to call liaisons, which would speak directly to some of the clerks. The worst thing I would say to do for someone is to go to a clerk and say, hey, we're going to go to hand counting, change it. And they go, well, here's my objection, which I know the Clements are going to help us with some objections coming up later, but here's my objection. And you can't answer that objection. So you have to understand the materials. That's the point of the e-manual. And that's what this webinar was to kick off, is to have people do it. And yes, we will record videos. I'm going to record as fast as I can every part of that manual to help people.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last question I would have would be, would it help? I mean, I would devote a whole week of my shows to this every day, talking about this process here in Missouri. I guess but then because we do have to move so fast on it, it's kind of a two-edged sword here. We've got to get the word out, but yet I think you can, this is one where you just got to splash right now. It's got to go big statewide, because you don't give them a time. I can take the attacks then. Who cares? I don't care. And where you put it on that level where the media can attack me, oh, it's just another crazy thing Mike Lindell's doing, blah, blah, blah. Well, but in the meantime, we're getting the word out to the citizens of what you're talking about, those three levels. Do you think that would help for 5? I'll do it all next week, every single hour of my show, if that's what you think, Linda. I mean, you could come. You want to come on the show at all next week?
Yep.
Or do you want to? Okay.
No.
Because
Anytime,
I think
Mike, we are totally here and committed to getting this going.
Okay, well then I think that's what we do. We have to go big or go home, and just go right away, and just the attacks are going to come if they get to these clerks. There's what is there? How many clerks are there? 100 and some?
So we have 116 voting jurisdictions, and I think about 4 or 5 have boards of directors. So that would leave us with just over 100 clerks, maybe 105.
Right. And I like that you have everything covered, because one of the things they would do, you would get the other side going, oh, you can't get them counted in time, and you've got all the negatives we used to hear. I think if you have all those answered, it's just like when I used to sell my pillow at the home shows and fairs. People would come up, well, can you wash and dry it? Yes, you can. Is it going to last? Yeah, here's a 10-year warranty. Yeah, here, whatever answer, whatever question would come out, have that answer ready, and that gives the clerks confidence too. I think that gives them big confidence that they would, any skepticism, and then plus, I don't know how they could get attacked, because they're not going to know how to combat this. Because I don't know how they'll be able to say, like in Arizona, it was easy for them to say, oh, it would take a stadium the size of a Sun Devil Stadium, and it would take us 5 months to do a hand count. That's what they said back then. That's because that's because it's all one. It's all centralized. Here it's spread out in beautiful little precincts, and then you just add a few more groups of 4. I love it.
Yeah, well, and I took a tour of the St. Louis County elections facility a week before this last election, and they have about 500,000 votes. I think about 200,000 actually cast at polling places. They have, the rest of them we don't have mail-in per se, but we have absentee ballots, overseas, of course, and then we have early voting, and those get collected. So you're talking about maybe 200,000 to 300,000 ballots at the central location. I've sat there and done the numbers. It will take a lot of people, and it might take 2 days in that case, but it would still be where you could hand count with enough election judge counters in the room. And I walked in, they were opening the absentee ballots. They had to have about 40 or 50 people in there just opening the ballots. Well, you could have it where people are actually counting it. It can all be done. It can be done, and it can be done according to statute.
Right. That's awesome. The last question I have is, I wonder if it would help or if we just do it. And then I was just wondering about the Secretary of State, letting him know the intentions. I guess maybe we just do it without. I don't know. What's your thought on that? I could go meet with the Secretary of State and say, here's what the citizens are doing here, and it's in your statute.
Yeah, I actually think that Byron in Freedom Principles has a meeting scheduled with Jay Ashcroft coming up on January 5th that he invited me to attend. So on January 5th, I know I'm supposed to be there meeting with the Secretary of State and his staff. So whether you're beamed in or if you want to join or you just want us to tell him, that you're on board and you're participating, but this is all under the banner of Cause of America. So this is definitely a Cause of America issue.
Okay. Now, January 5th, so you're meeting with the Secretary of State that day?
Yeah.
Oh, I would definitely come for that if that, I would be there for that if you want to give me details.
Yeah, Byron's messaging me that they are confirming the time, but it looks like it'll be 10 o'clock in the morning in Jefferson City.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. I keep getting calls. I'm gonna probably have to get off, but this is the most exciting news I've had. This is what a way to end the year. This is so awesome. Great job. I'm so excited.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.